So about this time last year, we reviewed the NuPhy Air 75 and Air 60 range of mechanical keyboards. We loved the fact that they were low-profile mechanical keyboards with removable switches that were backlit and made a great wireless Mac and PC experience. And then throughout the year, NuPhy surprised us with an incredible range of Halo 60, 75 and 96% keyboards. And with each of the release, the keyboards have got better and better and more features which have made them really top-notch off-the-shelf keyboards. So with all these incremental updates to the Halo range, NuPhy have now come back with the Air 96, a low-profile mechanical keyboard for Windows and for Mac that is wireless, with hot swappable switches and all those new Halo innovations into this Air range of keyboard. So tonight we're going to unbox it, we're going to test it, we'll put it up against the Halo range and also show you it against the Air 75, which we previously loved, to see whether this keyboard is as good as we're expecting. Let's make a start. So, let's take a look. So opening up the box, we've got our NuPhy stickers and the hotkey guides. Now this is useful, so make sure you don't throw this away. This shows you all the different hotkeys for the lighting and how to connect multiple devices to this keyboard. Then we've got the keyboard itself, nicely wrapped. Now we've got the Lunar Grey version, but they also come in an Ionic White if you prefer it. So let's take a quick look. The keyboard itself is protected with a nice key protector over the top. I like to keep these, so when I'm not using the keyboard, I pop them back on just to stop getting dust and dirt getting onto the actual keyboard itself. Then underneath, we've got a USB to USB-C cable if you want to run it wired or to charge it. We've got a keycap and switch puller. We've got some alternate keycaps so that we can change over some of the orange and green keys, as well as the Mac to Windows keys. And then lastly, you can always provide a range of sample switches. Now my keyboard has come with the new Daisy switch. This is a rapid linear switch, which is great for fast typing or for gaming. But there is also a range of Gateron and other different switches available to configure when you order your keyboards, or you can buy extra switches afterwards and replace them because they are hot swappable. But the advantage of them giving you these samples, if you're not 100% sure on the one that you've chosen, you can test all of your samples to see which you prefer. And because it's hot swappable, you can put the samples into the keyboard to get a proper feel for them. And then lastly, we've got the USB 2.4 GHz dongle for wireless connectivity. Now it can be either Bluetooth or dongled, or you can just run it with the cable. And what they've done with this one is because you cannot fit, it's so slim and compact, you can't fit the dongle inside like you can on the Halo range. They've given you a little clip, so you can clip this to the actual cable. So if you're not using your dongle, you don't lose it. So it keeps it nice and tidy together. So the NuPhy, I do like the fact that they do try and think of everything when they're bringing these keyboards out. So now let's take a quick look around this actual keyboard itself. Now this is the 96% version, so you can see we do get the number pad, and they have pushed it into the actual keyboard a little bit to reduce the size of the actual keyboard itself. And because this is a low profile mechanical keyboard, it does make sense to try and make it as compact as possible, whilst giving you pretty much a full size layout keyboard. So if we just quickly look around the keyboard first, on the top we've got the USB-C port here, so you can charge the actual keyboard's battery or run it wired via the cable. We've also got a Windows and Mac button so you can switch between the operating systems so that the special keys will work depending on the operating system you're using. And then over here we've got the off, wired and wireless button, and this will allow you to choose which mode of operation this keyboard is running. By switching it off, it does totally disable the batteries. There's no lighting or anything, and that will obviously keep it in an off state. You've also got to turn it to wired if you want to run it via the cable. And if we look at the bottom, you can see that they've used a nice clear sort of polycarbonate case this year on this model, and you can actually see through to the PCB, which I think is quite a nice touch. We've got a nice NuPhy mirrored plate, and unlike the older range of Air 60 and 75s, whereas before you only had the rubber feet on the Air 60 and 75, and you needed to add a separate foot to raise the actual keyboard up for more inclined typing angle. This year, we've actually got built-in feet, which is quite impressive on such a slim keyboard. So we've got a two-stage foot here, so you can have it at your desired typing angle. So now that we've looked around the actual keyboard physically, Let's take a quick look at the lighting. Now, these keycaps are not shine through. These are double shot PBT keycaps. They are fantastic feeling keycaps, but the trouble with these thick double shot keycaps is they're very difficult to shine light through. So you get lighting around the edge strips and you'll get lighting around the keys, but not coming through the actual letters themselves, which is a bit of a shame. But personally, I prefer the feel of these keycaps over ABS shine through keycaps. But if you do prefer that, NuPhy do sell them, and you can, when you order your keyboard, buy yourself some shine through keycaps as well. And I will pop some of those on in a second so you can see. And whilst we're talking about the keycaps, you can also buy yourself a wrist rest. I have to be honest, I love these wrist rests. I've been really loving the one on my Halo, which I use every single day on my Mac. And here we go for the new Air. So it's a nice frosted sort of polycarbonate wrist rest. Looks fantastic, and it just helps that typing incline. Now, all of the actual RGB lighting can be adjusted through hotkeys, which are in the actual manual, so make sure you look at those. We will go through that in a little while. But you will notice we've got a flashing light here on the side of the keyboard. That's to show that it's not actually connected at the moment via my wireless or Bluetooth connections. So when you do connect that up, that will actually turn to a solid color. Now, before I actually connect this to the computer and start typing and sort of playing with these keycaps, I want to just quickly show you up against the Halo. So if I just make a bit of room on the desk and ask my beautiful assistant Gary to hand me over my Halo 96. Now, we've recently reviewed the Halo 96. I absolutely love this keyboard, but look at the difference in size between these two keyboards. They're both flat to the desk. This is one chonky, heavy, full-size mechanical keyboard. Now, if this sits on your desk, it is a fantastic typing experience. I absolutely do love it. So putting the Halo 96 next to the Air 96, you can see how much thicker the standard type mechanical keyboard is. You're getting a lot more key travel with the Halo 96. You can see here, it still feels great to type on being a mechanical keyboard still, but you do get more travel and a sort of, obviously you can see how much higher keyboard layout with the standard range as opposed to the Air. Weight-wise, this thing weighs a ton. It is a real brick, so you're not going to want to travel with this keyboard. Whereas the actual Air 96, it is a very thin, light that you could slip in a bag and take with you with maybe your Mac or your laptop and do some typing on the go. This is definitely much more portable, and some people do prefer the lower typing angle of the Air range over the standard traditional mechanical keyboards. So backlighting between the two is very similar, as you can see. The light coming around the actual keycaps on both, but with the actual Halo, you do get the bar around the keyboard as well, which you don't get on the actual Air, just on the inside and around the keycaps themselves. But other than the thickness of the Halo 96 and the weight, you can see the actual dimensions between these two are pretty much the same. It's maybe a millimeter or so slimmer than the actual Halo 96 to this Air 96, and the actual depth I think is exactly the same. Again, might be 1 mil or so thinner, but otherwise you're basically getting a much lighter and slimmer keyboard over the Halo. So if you're planning on traveling with this keyboard, or if you're planning on moving it regularly, this one is much easier to work with than this beast. Just to show you how much difference there is between the two, I'm going to quickly weigh them. The Air 96 is 674 grams, as opposed to the actual Halo 96, the thick boy, 1.4 kilograms. So that's more than double the weight. And lastly, the other comparison I just want to quickly do. This was the Air 75, which we reviewed a year ago and we've been using regularly. Gary uses this keyboard, whereas I use the more compact 60. And you can see here the actual magnetic feet that you needed to increase the incline on the older Air 75 and 60 range. Whereas obviously now we've obviously got the built-in feet, which is really impressive. But otherwise, you can see the difference realistically is the size. They've got the similar sort of chassis shell, similar keycaps, but as you can see, the 75 is more compact than the 96. You get the function keys with the 75, whereas the 60, you don't get any of the function keys. That is the most compact one that they offer. But personally, I think the 96, still very compact and gives you pretty much an entire keyboard, albeit slightly crushed in over a full-size keyboard. Right, so get rid of these then. I'm going to do a quick typing test and then we're going to have a quick look at the shine-through keycaps. So now we're up and running. You can see I have a solid blue light on the keyboard because I've connected it to my iMac on my desk via the 2.4 GHz dongle. Now, people are always asking me, what's the reception like on the dongles? You know, they're never very good. Well, I'm actually connected at over 3 meters away to my iMac to do this typing test. And I've had no issues at all. And this is totally extreme. You're never going to run at this distance away from your computer. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've got the Daisy linear switches. These have got very light feedback. So I'm going to do a very quick typing test on this keyboard, and then I'm going to compare it to my Air 75 with blue low profile mechanical switches. Okay, so the Daisy switches. And now the blue switches on the Air 75. Back to the Air 96. So there we go. I'm absolutely loving these Daisy switches at the moment. They feel fantastic. They've got a nice pressure, and as you can hear by the sound, they sound great. Obviously, they don't have that tactile feel like you get with the blues, and you don't get the click, but they are great, and they would be good for gaming as well as typing. So as I mentioned earlier as well, I want to quickly look at the shine-through keycaps. So you get the entire set when you buy the shine-through keycaps. I'm going to just put on the number pad just to test in this video so you can see the actual shine through against the standard PBT. So there we go, the actual number keys are now in the black shine through keycaps. Obviously they're not in white, but they look fantastic. They still feel great actually. These are quite impressive. I thought they'd feel a bit cheap compared to the PBT double shot, but they feel really nice. So if you do want that shine through add-on, definitely well worth buying. And just whilst we've got some of these RGB keycaps in here, as I mentioned earlier on with the actual function key, if you press the function key up and down arrow, you can adjust the brightness of that backlighting. And if you press the back cursor, you can change the lighting effects. You can see there's a number of presets on here. Give you a nice range for the actual keyboard itself. But personally, I like to have it cycling through the RGB because I think this looks fantastic. So there we go. If you're looking for a compact mechanical keyboard that's reasonably light and portable, the Air range is absolutely fantastic. And this Air 96 is a great layout if you need that number pad. Obviously, you've got the 60 and the 75 if you want the shorter keyboards. But for me personally, because I do use a number pad, this is a great size. And if you do want that more traditional mechanical keyboard, then you've got the Halo range, and we've been absolutely loving those in the office for the last, 6 months we've been using those daily. So if you want to check out or buy any of these keyboards, I'm going to put the link down to NuPhy in the description down below. And we do have a special discount code for 10% off if you use MASH10 at the checkout, and that'll give you 10% off your entire order. So as usual, if you've got any questions, pop them in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. And lastly, thanks for watching.